Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be using the Field Notes Journal Digital Kit from TaylorMade Cards for You to show you how to make a really easy 3-signature journal. And when I say easy, it's because it's my style of journal and I don't do the traditional style because it's kind of over my head. So that's why I say that this is easy. And I am really happy with the way it turned out. So I can't wait to show you. Let's just head on over and get started.
So today I'm using the Field Notes digital kit from TaylorMade Cards for You, and it is perfect for making journals, but it's also perfect for making so many other things. And I've only printed out a few of the items because this is what I'm going to be using, but here is a picture to give you a quick glimpse of what the kit looks like. Okay, so what I've printed out is this Field Notes cover, and I printed it out on white cardstock because I'm going to be inking the edges, and then I'm going to be adhering this to the actual cover, so no one's going to notice that it's on white. And this one I printed out on a beige cardstock because even though some of these things I might be adhering to something so it won't show, some of them I think I might be using to make some journal clips with, so I wanted the back to look like that. And then talking about having the back look differently, if you notice this beautiful, I don't know what you'd call it, because it's not a design or a print, but it is because that is what the cardstock looked like that I printed that on. So it really gives it a cool effect. Now keep in mind, you can always print it out on white like I did this, or on beige like I did with this one. It's totally up to you, but I decided I wanted to use this. And so that is what I did for these. I'm going to be using these to make signature covers, I guess you would call them. So they're going to be for the little pieces, the little booklets inside my journal. And if you watch my videos enough, you know I'm really not a journal person. I don't necessarily make them the normal way. But anyway, so I will be cutting this in half, and then these were actually each different pages, and so I had just cropped them and then I printed 2 pages on one sheet, and that way all I have to do is just cut it in half and it's ready to go. So that's what I did with this one. And then here are the pages that are going to go in there, and I did the checklists and the notes and and that page. Isn't that really cool? Okay, so as you notice though, on the back it has this other page that looks like this. Now you don't have to do that because again I had cropped this down, and so what you see right here is actually just one image, but I've cropped it and then printed it out twice on a page just so it'd be easy for me to cut in half and they would be ready to go. And I did the same thing on the back using another one of the pages, but this kit actually comes with a solid page that you can print out so that you don't have to worry about lining things up. But I printed it out this way for a reason, and you'll see that here in a little bit. So what I'm going to go do right now is I'm going to cut all of these pages in half right across here, fold them in half, and get them sorted into the little booklets. Well, I'm not going to have them in the booklet yet, but I will show you. And the same thing, I'm just going to cut out everything that I'm going to be using, and then we will be able to get started. Before I bring back in the pieces that I've cut out, I'm going to show you what you're going to need for the cover. So, what you're going to need is 3 pieces of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock. And here are 2 of them. And what you're going to do with these 2 is you are going to cut them so that they are 6 inches and 5 inches. So they're 8.5 across by 6 inches, 8.5 across by 5 inches. And you're going to do that to 2 of them. And for the third piece, you're going to cut it down to 7 3/4 inches. So it was 8.5, but now it's 7 3/4, and that leaves you this strip right here that is 3/4 of an inch by 11 inches. Don't throw it away, you just might be needing that. And that will leave you with 2 pieces that are 7 3/4 inches by 6 inches and by 5 inches. So just like before, the only difference is that you cut off this strip on the side. Now it's time to do some scoring. So on those two pieces that are 8.5 by 6 inches, we are going to score those at 4.5 and 4 3/4. So let's get started on that. 4.5 and 4 3/4. And that's going to leave, let me see if I can get it to show up here. There you go. That's going to leave that little 1/4 inch section right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So again, at 4.5 and 4 3/4. And now for the two pieces that are 8.5 by 5, we're just going to score them right down the middle at 4 1/4. So that's really simple. Just keep those right on there, and 4 1/4, and those two are done. Okay, now for that piece that was 7 3/4 inches by 6 inches, we are going to be scoring that one at 3 3/4 inches and 4 inches. So it's going to have the same 1/4 inch, there you go, 1/4 inch right there. And we're going to be folding all these in a minute, but I'm just going to set that aside for right now. And for that last piece that you're going to have, just hang on to it for right now, okay? Okay, now we are going to fold on all of those score lines. And you can use your bone folder if you would like. It probably would help. I actually kept mine handy here. And we are going to do that to all of these, and we are folding them all the same direction, so they will look like little booklets, okay? And for those that don't have two score lines, they're just going to be folded just like that. Okay, we have everything folded, and see, we'll take these two and set them aside, the two that just have the single score line that make little cards or little booklets. We're going to set those aside, and you will notice that there's a short side on these two, and then this one, the sides are even. This is going to be your middle piece, and we are going to take those two sides that are the shorter sides, we're going to put those together like that, okay? And leave the spines flat though. Don't make a mistake and glue it together, including the spines, okay? Leave the spines flat. And then we are going to take the other one, and we're also going to glue that to that short side. So now we're taking these two short sides and these two short sides and putting them together, and that is going to leave the longer parts of the cover out here. Now there's two ways of doing this inside, and I'm going to tell you right now because I know how I'm going to do it, but I want you to know there's two ways. You can either just put the glue on these outside edges like that, and you will be creating a pocket, okay? And that's what I'm going to be doing. Or you can just glue them completely together and just have it like a divider. So that is totally up to you how you do that, but I'm going to go get my adhesives to do this, and I am actually going to be using my Beacon 3-in-1, and you can use double-sided tape if that works best for you. Okay, so making sure that you have the shorter piece on the inside, and then that one, and then this one with the shorter piece on the inside with the two longer flaps on the outside. It is time to get to work. And like I said, I am using my Beacon 3-in-1, which my lid is just giving me fits today. I must have got some glue on it, and it decided to glue itself together. Okay, so I'm going to make a pocket. So because of that, I'm only going to glue the sides. Okay, I could actually glue the bottom also if I wanted to, but it's really not going to matter. So I'm just going to put a thin line of glue here on each side. Oh no, not across my thing. Okay, let's try that again. Put a thin thing of glue right here. And you know, maybe I'll put one across the bottom as well. Why not? It's not going to really matter, but there we go. And so now I'm sitting these together, making sure that they are lined up. Okay, but as you can see, we still have both spines, okay? So we did not glue those together. And now it's time to glue this one, the smaller side, to the one in the center, still leaving the long one on the outside. Okay, so with everything lined up properly, now we have the three spines together, which are going to create the spine of this little journal. Okay, so do you remember that long strip? Well, we are going to cut that down so that we have 6 inches, and we are going to glue that right here on the end. Again, you can use glue or double-sided tape, but I'm going to be using my beacon glue. And then we are going to let that dry and get on to the next step. Okay, let's look at the pages that I had printed out. So this is what it looked like. I had 2 sets on a page, and then I cut that in half right there at 5.5 inches, and that gave me 2 sets. Now, I printed out 5 pages for each of the signatures or booklets that are going to be going in this journal. So I had 5, and when I cut them in half, I now have 10 altogether. Okay, so I have 10 sets of pages. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, and I'm not scoring or anything. I am just folding in half. So be really careful that you get it right in half, but they all seem to go right in half for me. And so you're going to do that to all of these. And when you do that, you know, originally you're saying, well, it was only 5 pages, and now, okay, well, now it's 10. Well, you have to remember that there are actually 4 for each one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means when you get these all put together after you folded them, you're going to have 40 pages. And 40 pages is a lot. So what's going to happen, and actually I'll stop doing this on camera. Silly me. So you would be folding them like this. When you get done, it's going to look like this. Now, actually, it's not going to look like that one. It's going to look like this one. So it'll look like this. This will be, you know, your booklet. But you'll notice that when you've put them all together and folded them, that they're not even along the edges here. So one trick for that is you can use paper clips or something to hold it in place. And then you can either use your paper trimmer or scissors, or some people even use a ruler with a craft knife, and just cut off that extra so you don't have these, you know, the pages aren't sticking out like that. And I hope you understand what I'm saying. And you do that on each side because, as you can see, they're not even. But once you do that, and I did mine with a paper trimmer, then it looks like this. And now they are even. So I'll put them up so you can see the difference between the two. See if I can get it close. There you could see all the extra pages, you know, sticking out a little bit further. And here they're even. And so this is what you want it to look like, where all of the pages are even, everything is folded together and stacked together nicely. So like I said, you can either use your scissors, paper trimmer, or craft knife and just trim that off. And so I'm going to go fold up the rest of this and put it together, and then I'm going to show you what's next. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I put the little booklets or signatures together, and I did this with staples, and you can do it just by tying it, which is what we're going to be doing here in a little bit actually. So the staples is optional, and also if you've seen me already do this before in another video, then you probably don't need to watch me again. But if you are watching this for the first time and want to see how to do the staples, then keep watching. Okay, so the first thing I did was I cut out the page that I was going to use for the cover, and I scored it right down the middle at 4 1/4 inches, and it works out perfectly because that's where she has that inked look already, which I absolutely love. And so when you fold it, it folds right on that line just like it's supposed to. So that was absolutely perfect. And then I'm going to take the pages that we've already done, and I'm going to place them inside and make sure that everything is in there firmly. And then you're going to open it up like this, and you are going to take staples, and I'm only using 2, so you just have a staple. And what you're going to do is you're going to line it up where you want it. It doesn't have to be precise, but you can line it up where you want it, and then you're going to put a little tiny mark where each end of that staple was. And then you're going to move this, whoops, don't move the pages, just move the staple. You're going to move this to where you want the next one, and put a little mark there and a little mark there. So you have just 2 little tiny marks at each spot, and making sure that everything is still together firmly, you are going to take some sort of piercing tool, and you are going to fold your booklet, not completely closed, but enough where you can see down to where the holes are. And I'm using my craft mat, or my Close to My Heart craft mat, turned upside down because this is a little spongy, so there's a little give here for me to do this. And I'm going to go right in on those dots, and I am going to poke holes just like that. Now I personally am going to have to make the hole a little bit bigger. It just makes it easier for me to get the staples in. So once those holes are already there, I'm just going to go through and make it a little bit bigger. And then we're going to put the staples in. Now, that's always a challenge for me on camera, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. Mostly because I just need to get it to where I can see it better. But we're going to take the staple from the outside, put it right in those little holes, and push it all the way through. Okay, there we go. The staple is in, and then you can use your fingers, or you can use a little tool like this to press those down. And part of my problem with dealing with these staples is I broke a fingernail the other day, and instead of just fixing one fingernail, I decided to go chop all of my nails off, which means I have no fingernails to work with, which actually makes this a little difficult. But there you go. And now I'm going to put the other one in, and then I'll be right back. Okay, and with the staples in, I'm going to fold it, and as you can see, it doesn't want to fold really well. Take your bone folder and just go over both sides, and now look, it lays nicely, just like you would like it to. And then on these, I inked the edges, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one using frayed burlap distress ink, and just getting some ink on there, and I'm just going around the outside. I'm not, doing the inside of this, but I'm going to do this on the outside all the way around, and I'm going to do this front and back, and then we are ready to move on. Okay, so before we add the cover and before we add the spine cover, we need to decide how the closure is going to be. So one of the ways is to use, some sort of ribbon or seam binding or twine or whatever, and you would adhere that first. And I like doing it around the outside because it gives it more stability as it pulls against the spine, whereas if you put it on the inside, there's nothing really holding it other than the glue. So if you wanted to do a tie, you would use either a glue or double-sided tape to adhere your ribbon or whatever tie you're going to use before you add the cover and the spine cover. And then everything will be nice and secure, and this will just show right here on the end where it ties. And I always suggest making sure you have more than enough so that when you tie it, you know, you won't go, oh no, I needed more. So that is one way to do it. Another way to do it is a magnetic closure, in which case the other piece of that of this strip that we cut off is actually perfect for that. You could round the corners if you want. You can, you know, put some paper over this. And so what you would do is adhere it to the back, and then of course that will be covered up by, let me grab it here, by the back cover. Okay. And then you will have to get some little magnets, and you would put it on here and then find out exactly where you want it on here, and then you would put the magnet in both places so that it would adhere. And I'm actually not showing how to do any of these closures because there's so many options. It would take me a whole other video in order to show you how to do that. And I'm going to be doing an option that would also take a whole different video, and I'll show it to you later. So for right now, I'm just going to start putting things together. And I'll show you what I did with the covers. You could see the nice leather look to that kind of shininess there. And that is because I gave them a coat with the antique matte Mod Podge. And so I did that to both the front and the back covers because I really like that look. And for the spine cover, what I've done is I've cut a piece that is obviously 6 inches long, and then it is 2 1/4 inches across, and I scored it at 3/4 of an inch from each side. So that's actually, you'll have 3 sections that are 3/4 of an inch, and that is going to fit perfectly over the end like that. Okay, so 6 inches by 2 1/4 and scored 3/4 of an inch from each side. Okay, now the cover is complete and it looks beautiful. And I forgot to show you, but I also rounded the corners because I really like that look. So now we are ready to put our signatures in. And what you're going to need is a pair of scissors and either some strong embroidery thread or some, you know, thin twine. You don't want anything too thick. And for this one, I'm going to use this embroidery thread. And let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and we're going to grab our little folders that are here in the center, and right, see if I can get it to the camera good here, right at the edge, right where it meets down there at the score line, we are going to snip it. Now, not directly on the score line, but right next to it. Let me do it so that you can get an idea here. Hold on one second. I don't know if you can see that little snip. There it is. Okay. We are going to do that to each of these and on each end. Okay. Make sure you have the front of your book to the front so that you know, and that these are all facing the right direction and that they're in the order that you want. And we are going to stick it in and open it up. And I'm going to stick in the second one and open it up. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my thread, and I don't know how much I'm going to need. And you know, you're not going to know how much you need until you do this because each one may be different. So we're going to put the thread right there. I'll pull it up here really quick. It's going to go right there in that little notch that we cut. And we're bringing that down the middle of that book, or that signature. Let me put this in here. We're going to find that. We're going to bring it down, and we are going to put it in the little notch in the bottom of that one. And now I have an idea of how much I need here, so I'll cut that off, and I can always trim off more after I tie it. But we are going to bring those two pieces together so they are snug in their little slits, the little slots that we cut, so you see right there. And the same thing at that end. And then we're going to tie this in a knot as snug as we can get it. And that is always a challenge, because you always wish you had somebody else's hand in there to do it. So it could be a little bit snugger. And if you want it to, you could try it again. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. And then you just snip off some of that extra. And so those two are held in there snugly. And now we're going to do the same thing with this one. And hopefully I got that one in the right direction. Oh, yay, I did. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing all over again. And you don't have to put it through this book again, the middle one, but I am. So we're just going to put it right through those little slits that we cut and right to the center of this book, and pull that in, trim that off, and again, tie it as tight as you can. And hopefully you do a better job than I do, because for me this is actually very difficult to get it as tight as I want it. Okay, now we have all of the signatures in, and the really nice thing about the method that I showed you on tying them in is it makes it easy to slide them out if you ever want to replace them. And these pockets that we have right here are perfect for putting things in like this. Let's see if I can get it in here. You might notice I have a band-aid on my thumb. That's because I got a boo-boo. While putting these in, one of the staples wasn't pressed all the way down and I poked myself. But I'm not done. I am going to do a few more things to the inside, and I'm going to come back and show you, but the tutorial part of this is actually over with, because I just wanted to show you how to make this and how to put it together. And all of the decorating is completely up to you. The closure is completely up to you, because I like for people to do what works for them and not just what works for me. But I did want to show you, remember I told you to save those other pieces and we scored them in half. And what I've done is I actually went in and, with them still folded, I trimmed off the edge, bringing it down to, I believe this is like 3 3/4 inches across, just so it would be big enough if you have, or I should say small enough, in case you put a pocket in that you want it to slide into, or that you wanted it to fit into these little pockets. And again, you can decorate these any way you want. You can add some papers to the inside, or maybe just mat it to put pictures in. So there's so many possibilities with that. And again, there was another piece that was left over. You can use this to create a little booklet. You can use this to create pockets on the inside. But I believe in using, every little scrap and every little piece and, well, not those little pieces. But anyways, there's so many possibilities with this, and this was just a tutorial on how to make this and put it together. But I'll be back in a second and show you what I've done. And here is my finished journal. And what I've done is I added this piece of faux leather, and I attached it with a rivet on this side. And this rivet is just for decoration because I've created a Velcro closure. And for the spine, I actually added some of that faux leather as well over the cardstock that I had put on there already. And what I used is, let me grab it and bring it over here. This is by Cricut, and it is their faux leather wood grain. And this stuff is amazing. It cuts beautifully with my paper trimmer, and this is what it looks like. I mean, this is just, it's not paper. It is faux leather, and it's really awesome. So that's what I used. And now let's get on to the inside. Here I have added 2 little pockets, and I could have just made them strips because what they are for is to hold these journal clips that I've made, and that way they are ready to use whenever they're needed. And here's a couple more down here, and on these I added liquid glass, and I'm going to put one more right here, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to make these. So if you want to see how to do this, if you haven't already seen my video from a couple weeks ago, I'll show you really quick in a minute. But here we are with our little signatures that we've added, and each one has 40 pages in it, and our little pockets that can be used in between each one. And so I'm just going to keep flipping through because you've already seen all of that. And then I'm going to get to the back where I added a little corner pocket here. And I did take one of those, the folders that we looked at earlier that we made, and I rounded the corners and cut down the same kind of pages, only I cut them down to fit front and back. And on the inside I added a little pocket, and over here a little band for tucking things, and that fits nicely right in there like that. And that is my journal. Now if you want to see how to make those journal clips, stay tuned, that's next. Okay, so I have a paper clip, and they come in a pack of 80 that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I have cut down some of those little images. Let me grab that really quick. There was that whole sheet of these which had the butterflies on them that you just saw, and so I just cut those out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper clip, and to make it easier for me, I like to slide it onto a piece of cardstock, and that way I'm not putting adhesive on the part of the clip I don't want it on. And so I just take my glue, go around the edge of the clip like that. Then you can take this, you can put it on like that, or at an angle. For one of the butterflies I did do it at an angle. And you just line it up on there. And then you can leave it to dry on there if you would like. Or you can remove it to let it dry. Either way, this is what your clip looks like. And it will just slide right back on to whatever you want it to mark your pages or whatever you would like to do. But that is how to make a quick and easy clip for your journal or your planner.
I hope I made that easy enough for you all to follow because it really is simple and there are so many possibilities with it. So I'm hoping it gave you some ideas of your own. And if you click below where it says show more, it'll drop down, and in the description box you will find a link to tailor-made cards for you and a link to that Field Notes Journal digital kit, because you're going to love it. There's just so many pieces to it and so many possibilities. And you are also going to find links to the rest of the design team because we all use the kits in different ways. And so you're going to get a lot more inspiration if you watch their videos as well. And of course, there's always a link below to Crafter's Castle Challenge where you can enter your creations. Happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.